Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the previous stream where I showed you the MVP. Going forward, I'll just touch a few things once in a while. Things that I think can be beneficial to this project and can help you advance it in just a few ways. One of the things I think that can be very good is TanStack Query. I won't say I'm the best front-end developer, but I interact with front-end developers who are way, way, way more senior than I, and I admire them. Okay, so this is something they've been talking about a lot, and they've been talking about something called the TanStack Stat, a potential good alternative to Next.js. And yeah, they have really talked a lot about it. But I read about this and I compared what I read with what they told me, and it matches. So TanStack is pretty much, yeah, powerful, and we're going to see how it's going to be applied to our project. So like you see right now, it has so many downloads. I can see that, do you see the count in the bottom? The count keeps increasing. I hope it's genuine. Hope it's genuine. Anyway, so this says TanStack Query, powerful asynchronous state management, server state utilities, and data fetching. Powerful asynchronous state management, server state utilities, and data fetching. Fetch, catch, update, wrangle all forms of async data in your TS, JS, React, Vue, Solid, Svelte, and Angular applications, all without touching any global state. That's awesome. Okay. And if you look at the code right now, and of course, like I told you in the community post, and the thumbnail talks about it, and the title talks about it, we're going to use AI. And like you can see, this IDE is an Agentic IDE by Google. It's called Antigravity. And we are going to hop into this section and write a few prompts to ask the AI to refactor our code base. Okay. But before that, I just wanted to show you this official documentation and the overview. Okay. I want to read through this overview very fast. Okay. Then we shall go and do the code. It's actually very short because I feel like it's important to understand what something is about. Okay. And then as you understand what it's about, you can prompt AI however you like, and you can be able to discern whether what AI has given you is accurate or wrong. That is my approach as of now, because I know AI still has many issues. Okay. AI has a number of issues, and my way around those issues, most times, currently at the moment, okay, is to briefly at least look at the documentation, okay, then go and prompt. So I'll go through this overview as fast as I can, then go to the AI and write a few prompts. Okay. I'll show you how I write my prompts. If you have a better way of writing prompts, please, yeah, I would be happy to learn from you. But yeah, today we are chasing the useEffect hook. Yeah, we're chasing it. All right. CodeNerd is disappointed that I'm using AI in place of hard coding. AI has its place, by the way. Whenever I need hand coding, I'll do it, and I won't do a lot of hand coding on this channel. Okay. But I also know that AI can help us, okay, in several ways, especially if we use it the right way. All right, say overview. Let me expand. It says TanStack Query, formerly known as React Query, is often described as the missing data fetching library for web applications, but in more technical terms, it makes fetching, catching, synchronizing and updating server state in your web applications, a breeze. So right now we have fetching, but we're using the use effect hook. Okay, there's a lot of trouble. We have to update the state manually. Okay, we don't. The app. These guys are saying TanStack Query can update the state for us. Okay, and can do catching. Okay, I like this. Okay, I also read somewhere that they can do for us. What is it called? They can do for us retries. Okay, we don't have retries in the front end, by the way. Okay, let me show you. Maybe if I go to maybe the booking ID. Okay, you're going to see a lot of stuff that we do that I don't like. Okay. What can I show you? I'm looking for a good example where we have a lot of server state and we are using use effect and set state at the same time. Okay. It should be somewhere here. I'm going to show you. Is it in payment? This is verify payment. Okay, so you see this. Okay, we have this function verify payment. Okay, it makes an API call. Okay, and then somewhere we are setting state. Okay, it happens several times. Maybe the best example is to go to flights. Okay, I think page.tsx can show you. So you see this in the use effect, we have this function called fetch flights. Okay, but later it says update flights, set error. All this is state from the server. Okay, this is server state being updated on the front end, which TanStack says can do for us very easily. Okay, so let's finish the overview very fast and then AI will do for us what we want to do. So says most core web frameworks do not come with an opinionated way of fetching or updating data in a holistic way. Because of this, developers end up building either meta frameworks which encapsulate strict opinions about data fetching, or they invent their own ways of fetching data. Okay, simply means that most frameworks don't tell you what to do, that fetch data using this pattern. Okay, or follow rule 1, 2, 3 to fetch data. They leave you to fetch data however you like. That is what they're trying to say here. But then, okay, it results into developers building what they call meta frameworks, a framework of a framework. Okay, like you have React and you build Next.js. Okay, why? Because the original framework is not giving you everything you need, so you build another framework. Okay, on top of another framework, or a framework of a framework to do certain things. Okay, and to have stricter ways of catching, retries, synchronization, and data fetching. So it goes on to say this usually means cobbling together component-based state and side effects, or using more general purpose state management libraries to store and provide asynchronous data throughout the apps. They go on to say, while most traditional state management libraries are great for working with client state, they are not so great at working with async or server state. This is because server state is totally different. Okay, so they are great at working with async or server state. They are not so great. Okay, they are good for client state, but not server state. Then it says, for starters, server state, the explaining server state is persisted remotely in a location you may not control or own. Requires asynchronous APIs for fetching and updating. And this is what we are dealing with actually. Implies shared ownership and can be changed by other people without your knowledge. Exactly. Can potentially become out of date in your applications if you're not careful. Okay. Yeah, in our case, like flight data can change. Okay. At any point, and you have no control. Then they go on to say, once you grasp the nature of server state in your application, even more challenges will arise as you go. Okay, so first of all, take note of these things. Okay, first one is the server state is persisted in a remote location, which you may not have control. In our case, we have some control in our first API backend, but Amadeus and other things, payment gateways, we don't have. Okay, and we're doing asynchronous APIs for fetching and updating. Okay, and ownership is shared, by the way, in many cases. Okay, yeah, so let's go to the challenges. They're saying, for example, catching, possibly the hardest thing to do in programming. I would agree with this. Catching is not something easy. Okay, the challenge is actually invalidating. When you need to invalidate catch, oh my god, it can make you sweat. Okay, it's a, if you've done catching, I'm sure you know the pain that comes with it. Okay, so we move on, saying dedumping multiple requests for the same data into a request, updating out of date data in background, knowing when data is out of date, reflecting updates to data as quickly as possible. Okay, performance optimizations like pagination and lazy loading data, managing memory and garbage collection of server state, memorizing query results with structural sharing. Okay. Then they go on to say, if you're not overwhelmed by that list, then that must mean that you have probably solved all of your server state problems and already deserve an award. As for me, I don't deserve an award. Okay. I have so many of these issues on the front end. Okay. I have so many of these problems on the front end. So they're saying, however, if you are like a vast majority of people, you either have yet to tackle all or most of these challenges, and we are only scratching the surface. TanStack Query is hands down one of the best libraries for managing server state. It works amazingly out of the box with zero config, and can be customized to your liking as your application grows. TanStack Query allows you to defeat and overcome the tricky challenges and hurdles of server state and control your app data before it starts to control you. On a more technical note, TanStack Query will likely help you remove many lines of complicated and misunderstood code from your application and replace with just a handful of lines of TanStack Query logic. I can't wait to see this. Make your application more maintainable and easier to build features without worrying about wiring up new server state data sources. Have a direct impact on your end users. Have a direct impact on your end users by making your application feel faster and more responsive than ever before. Potentially help you save on bandwidth and increase memory performance. It says, enough talk, show me some code already. In the example below, you can see TanStack Query in its most basic and simple form being used to fetch the GitHub stats for the TanStack Query project itself. Okay, so it says open in StackBees. Okay, so we can see a number of import statements. Okay, the import query client provider use query from TanStack Query. Then we have an instance of query client being made. Then I'm seeing the app. Okay, what is being written is being wrapped by a query client provider, and client is equals to the instance, this one here. Okay, so then the example here, which is being wrapped by the query client provider. You see, they have a function called example. And from use query, they are picking is pending, error, and data. Okay. Then they have something called a query key. Okay. This query key is like a key used to identify the data which is going to be picked from the API you get from this asynchronous call. Okay. And it can be used to uniquely identify the data in the cache. Okay. So this is the key. Then the query fn is a function, okay, which returns that data. So you can see it's an async, okay, and returns the promise. So they're saying .then, okay. Then it gives you, I like this, it gives you is pending, error. So we don't have to do things like set data, set error, okay. Then down here, just to, if it's pending, return loading. If error, return the error. Otherwise, you display the data. Okay, so they're saying you talked me into it. So what now? It's saying consider the official, but we won't go into this. Okay. What you've seen here is enough to apply to our application. Okay. So coordinate, if you're watching this right now, there's no need. So you can see how simple it is. Okay. What we're going to do is this. Okay. We're going to install TanStack. Okay. npm install TanStack React query. After that, we shall make these imports. Okay. We shall import query client provider, and use query. After that, we shall create an instance of query client. Okay. And then use this query client provider to wrap our application. Okay. Like this. We wrap it. Okay. And the value of client will be this instance of query client provider. No, not query client provider. Okay. Query client provider has a prop query client whose value is the query client. One instance of query client. As simple as that. And all this is returned as the usual JSX, okay, in a function component. It says export default function app, okay. Then here we have the actual example, okay, using the use query hook. Like I've told you, use query. I don't know, of course, it's not, I don't know if it's a hook or a function we shall learn soon, but we see the text in the query key, which I've told you is for uniquely identifying the data, especially because it does catching, and then the actual function to return that data. Okay. So we get either it is pending or is loading, depending on what you're going to call it, the actual error and the data. So I'm going to copy this and give it to the AI. Okay. We're going to use Gemini Pro. So I'll copy, come here. I say study the following overview about TanStack Query. Let me make this bigger so that you can see it. Sorry. Okay. So I'll use, I think, let me use Claude Opus. I hope I still have my credits. So let's wait and see. Oh, my quota has expired. Too bad for me. So what I can do is this. I can simply dismiss and use Gemini Pro for now. So confirm, send the request. I'm not ready to pay for this. Okay, says refining my approach. Says I've studied the overview of TanStack Query provided is a comprehensive introduction. Okay, so it has studied it. Okay, it says I have studied the overview of TanStack Query provided. It's a comprehensive introduction to the library and its core philosophy. Here are the key takeaways from the text. Mentions the purpose. Okay, TanStack Query is specifically designed to manage server state in web applications, which is fundamentally different from client state. True. The problem with server state, it's remotely persisted, okay, requires async APIs, can be changed by others without your knowledge, and can easily become out of date. Okay, complexity solved. It handles the most difficult aspects of asynchronous data management out of the box, including caching, okay, all these you get. Then it says benefits, says reduces boilerplate, okay. So I see you currently have open. Would you like to refactor this page? Wow. I actually closed it. Sorry. So I'll say act as a senior front-end engineer. Study all the pages and components in, I want to mention the directory, which is the front end. Okay. In the front end directory. Create a plan to refactor the pages to use TanStack Query where necessary. Only where necessary, because it's not necessary for all cases, okay? We only want it to work where necessary. Okay, you get it. So now I'm going to hit send. Give it time. The guy is thinking. So says analyzing front-end code base for data fetching patterns. So it searched for TSX files, it found 38 results, fetch 14 results, saying reviewing component files to construct the implementation plan, to the package.json. I think it was checking to see if TanStack has been installed or not. Okay, does analyze the number of page.tsx files and the booking form. Says reviewing API client and authentication pages to generalize the data fetching refactor target. Okay, so it looks at api.ts, page.ts. Okay, so it is creating a task and it has edited that task. Let me zoom out a little bit. If you can't see, you let me know. Okay, so it says TanStack Query refactoring plan. First one says analyze front-end source app pages for data fetching patterns. It's done with that. It has analyzed the components directory. It has unlooked at the identified files which already use TanStack Query. Okay, I think I might have left some because the other one I was trying to test. Identify which files use useEffect plus fetch or Axios for data fetching. Okay, so it's going through this. Then after that, it's going to draft an implementation plan outlining which components should be refactored. Then group. Okay, the plan is ready. Let me first go through this. Says draft an implementation plan. Group the refactorings by logical domains, auth, flights. Then finally present the plan to the user for review. Okay, let's look at the plan. This is why I like Antigravity, by the way. I like it for this. So TanStack Query refactoring plan. This plan aims to refactor data fetching patterns across the front end. Application to utilize TanStack Query, in brackets React Query, effectively. This will provide out-of-the-box caching, background updates, loading error state management, and easier pagination and mutations. Okay. So I'm going to read through it quickly, then we click proceed so that it proceeds to do the implementation. User review required. It says important. Please review this plan. This refactoring will touch core features like auth, bookings, flight search. We will introduce use query for data fetching, use mutation for actions and from submissions, and potentially use infinite query for the bookings list pagination. Also note, we'll wrap the React tree in a query client provider, what we saw in the documentation. Inside a new providers component to inject the query client globally into the next JS app router. Let me know if you approve this approach. Proposed changes. Set up provider. We need to set up the query client provider at the root of the app. That is okay. Create or import a provider's client component that wraps children inside query client provider. That is okay. Location search autocomplete says currently uses a debounced fetch call and a manual is loading error. Yes, that is correct. So say use query for fetching location suggestions based on the debounced input. That is okay. Use enabled option so the query only runs when the input has text. Benefits automatic catching of such cities. Okay, this is nice. So it's going to have this enabled option. Okay, which only runs when the input has text. That's very good. Okay, and we're going to have automatic catching. So this is for the location search. After that, we have the flight search and pricing. So it currently uses useEffect and fetch with state management via zoostand. Then it says replace useEffect and fetch with useQuery. Query will depend on search params from zoostand store. Benefits automatic background refetching if data becomes stale. Built-in loading error states without manually dispatching them to zoostand. Very important. Okay, makes life easy. Okay, if you've been following this project from the beginning, you must understand, you must now see the benefits. Okay, after that says for the flight ID page.tsx says confirming price is technically a post request, but since it acts as a data fetch for UI rendering, we can use a use query or use mutation inside use effect. A cleaner pattern is using use query with a custom query FN that executes the post request to fetch pricing details based on the selected flight. In fact, I expect it to use a use mutation. Okay, but let's continue. So user booking and actions says manages complex paginated lists and item cancellation. Okay, replace data fetching logic with use query or use infinite query depending on how the pagination is structured and preferred via cursor. Replace handle cancel booking, which does an API client delete with use mutation. Implement on success in the mutation to invalidate the bookings query list, ensuring the UI always reflects the new cancelled status automatically. Then the other page, say replace use effect. Actually, if I go to those pages, you'll see the things it's talking about. Okay, but I don't need to go through them because I know that you guys have been following along and you know, I expect that you've been reviewing the code I always push to GitHub. That's how you learn. Then authentication forms. These authentication forms involve form submission, okay, in brackets post and loading error states manually, okay. So it's going to modify the login page, forgot password page for the same thing, okay. Okay, so verification plant talking about automated tests, okay. But we don't have automated tests for the front end, by the way. I'm thinking of hiring a developer just to take care of that. Even if they prompt AI, but I expect them to thoroughly do it. But it's also something I can do by myself. Verify that the booking location, verify that booking form location autocomplete catches results without typing back and forth. Verify flight search correctly triggers and displays loading skeletons via query is loading. All right, let's click proceed. Okay. Then it says verify pagination and booking cancellations in my work correctly. I need to change the name of this. Okay. I need to change the name of this. It should change. Verify authentication forms correctly. Display loading state via mutation is pending. Okay. So how I get it is this: when you're fetching data, you're going to look for use query.is loading to know what is going on, the current progress. When you're posting, creating a resource in the backend, use a mutation. So query when you're fetching, mutation when you want to change something like update, delete, post. Okay, and you get so mutation is pending, tells you the progress. Mutation error tells you the error. Query.is loading tells you the progress. Query.error gives you the error. Okay, and I'm sure there's also query.data, which gives you the actual data that you're fetching. It's quite easy. I don't see anything hard. Trust me, I don't see anything hard. Okay, so it's asking us npm install TanStack React Query. I'll accept, I'll run. So guys, if you're enjoying this, like the video. Time to hit that like button. Okay, so the installation is going on. Let me drag my face on this other side. Sorry for the obstruction. I should have done this long time ago. Okay, looks like we're still in that phase of installing. I want to do a system design video. Okay, recently I worked on a project in Ghana, together with friends in Ghana, and it was deployed successfully. I worked on 2 complete backends. So I want to share the system design and architecture in upcoming live streams. And I want to consistently talk about system design independently on this channel. Okay, this is taking long. Did it? Okay, it got done with setting up, with installing React Query, saying wrapping route layout in providers component. It says updating booking form to use TanStack Query, updating autocomplete. Okay, updating autocomplete logic in booking form to use query hooks. Let me try to prove this. When you see red, just know something is broken. So in the layout.tsx, I should expect, okay, say import providers from app providers. Okay, so the whole thing has been wrapped in providers. Okay, if I open providers, we are seeing query client and query client provider from TanStack Query. Okay, then use state from React. I don't know why it chose to do this. Okay, I'm going to look at this deeply. I think it's trying to create something reusable. Okay, so export default function providers text in the children, and the children are of type React node. Then we have a query client, okay, whose result is from this use state. The text in if whose returns by default a function that returns an instance of a new query client. And the default options are these queries. Okay, default options is queries. We have the stale time, and the refetch on Windows focus is false. So the stale time, I think this is maybe milliseconds. I'll read more about this. Then it returns a query client provider, okay, where the client is this query client, okay, and then the children are wrapped. Okay, I understand it. I now get it. If this confuses you, don't be afraid to ask. So I can close this. Is it done? It says refactoring booking lists and admin. details. It is still working. Yeah, that's why I like AI for this kind of tasks. Okay, it makes it way easier. So if I move down, you can see use query has been imported here. Okay, so the things like is price loading, set price load, all this has been removed. Okay, this use effect hook has been removed. Okay. So you can see we have the actual data that we want is loading. Okay, so this is just data being given the name pricing data is loading, being renamed to this, or rather aliases, okay, to the use query. Okay, so you see the query key that we talked about, the function, okay, just calls confirm price with the selected flight. Then is enabled depending on this, the value of this variable. Right now, so far so good. So that replaces the things like is loading, whatever. We're going to prove it. Okay, it's one thing to do stuff and it's one thing to get it done right. It's usually taking long. Use query client. Which page is this? This is the page that loads the details for a user's bookings. It has those buttons like for cancellation. So you see this state has been removed. Okay. Okay. So you can see the use query client here. I think fetch booking has just been redefined. Yeah, so not bad. I guess I'm just going to wait for it to get done. Okay, then we do a short test. Meanwhile, I want to prepare the backend. Cd into backend, docker compose app. Okay, I don't know what it is saying npm run build, but anyway, I'll hit npm run build. Okay, accept that. Sorry, my focus was on the phone. Not bad. Let's see. Wow, this is taking long. I forgot a principle of breaking down problems into sub-problems. I should have gone page by page instead of having it do the whole project. I think tomorrow I'll have my credits back for Opus. I'm going to use Claude Opus to review. But of course, I'm going to do a review by myself. It's the review that actually counts. Okay. Running npm run build. Okay, so it identified issues in some pages and fixed them. Mhm. So it says finished all code refactoring and verified build phases successfully. Okay. So yeah, so it has made simply walk through what it has done. Okay. What I'm going to do is this. I'm not going to accept first of all. I'm going to simply create a new terminal. Okay. Navigate to the front end and run nvm use 20 and npm run dev. Okay, just to test manually at least the first few pages. Okay, if that performs fine, then I can try out the other pages for myself at least. Okay, I can try out the other pages. So all right, time to test. Where's the browser? Localhost 3000. Okay, moment of truth. When you see it taking that long, you know something is broken. Okay, it actually worked. Why was I counting on it failing? I need to check the milliseconds, okay? It's taking longer than usual. Yeah, that took longer than usual. Look at that. Do you see that? Let me look at that page for myself and see what went on. That's why when you're refactoring, it's best to go page by page, component by component. So it has a hook to bounce the value there. I want to see the time. Did I use a magic number? Okay, timer. Let me just accept. I can always refactor this. Okay, timeout input 100 milliseconds. Close that. Where's the other one? Because it was taking longer than usual. I can't see. Okay, this other one, I'll put 100. Control F, I want to look for the bounce. I think I have to look for use the bounce. I want to see the actual. Okay, these are 300 milliseconds. So I want to reduce to 100 milliseconds. Okay, let's see if that improves performance. So I'll come here. As you can see, nothing came up. That's crazy. I need to see what goes on in the network tab. I'm just curious. Okay, come here, type ln. Okay, so if I come to this and I go to the response, are you seeing we actually get the data back? Okay, the API is okay. So the issue is with the change we made. Oh, did you see that? Okay, it's flashy. Okay, it's flashy. So let me try this. So if I come back here to this last one, you see we have a response. So the API request is okay. Are you looking at that? When I now click, this will now it appears. If I click again in the input, you see we get a result. Click again, say no results found. Okay. So yeah. And this is one of the things I wanted to show you, that you don't always get your luck when you're dealing with AI. You have to know exactly what you're doing. Otherwise, you could end up in this kind of mess. So let me do this. I'll click round trip. Let's try out another page. Okay. Let's see what happens here. Searching for best flights. Okay. And there we are. Select. Okay. So I've seen what needs to be handled. Okay. Let me try something. If I try to log in and see the response time. Okay. That's okay. If I try to sign up, I want to see what happens. Okay, let me try to type a password. What am I doing? What is happening? Okay. Okay, this is good. So yeah, like you can see, some pages have issues. Yeah, but I don't want to spend this whole stream going through that. So I'm going to go through the code. This requires actually an intentional manual review. Okay. And then fix them. And like always, I'll push to the public branch what I fixed. But I hope if you didn't know what TanStack Query is, you now know. If you didn't know its advantages, now you know. That's the goal of this. You know what TanStack Query is, what it can do, why we need it. Okay? Or why you can use it in your project. That was the goal of this stream, to bring awareness about TanStack Query, but also to apply it to the project. So I'm going to make those updates, push the code. So like I always tell you, review it, okay? Read it and see the changes. So bye for now. See you in the next video or like